Sci-fi and fantasy authors, revision or self-editing are not going to make your book better if it's just making it different. And the worst part, these revisions will never get your book ready to publish or query. What you're probably doing is getting stuck in an endless cycle of editing because you don't know what to fix. So let me give you a master revision plan in this video, and I'll show you how the authors I coach use it to revise purposefully and finish books that are actually ready to send out into the world. First, you need to know that while this revision plan covers everything your story needs, it actually makes the whole process way more manageable, because revision without a plan is where overwhelm starts. But this plan will help you revise smarter so you can finish revising this time. And that takes layers and prioritization. Think of your revision notes like ripples in a cauldron that your story is bubbling in. Very simply, some changes, like fixing a weak character arc or restructuring a plot thread, make big waves that affect everything else. Other edits, like renaming a character or trimming dialogue, barely make a splash. If you start with the small stuff first, you'll end up doing work you have to redo, or worse, keeping scenes that don't belong anymore because you already put extra effort into them. But if you start from the biggest ripples and work your way down, every revision builds on the one before it. You get a stronger draft with less wasted time and more precious finishing energy. I know it seems obvious, but here's what I've seen over and over. Even smart, talented writers fall into the same traps after their first draft. About 50% of the authors I've worked with rewrite their book almost entirely with every change. The other half is afraid of ruining what they have and stay on the surface level. They try to fix everything at once in one or very few surface level passes, or worse, tinker randomly, hoping the story will eventually click into place. Neither is revision. That's creative burnout waiting to happen. So that's the reason I teach this method I'm about to break down for you. I want to get you somewhere in the middle of perpetual complete rewrite authors and those that hardly make more than surface level changes. Revising in these strategic layers is so important. Take it in steps from your plan, one that helps you map out your story's problems, prioritize what matters, and work scene by scene to make each draft stronger, not just different. Here's how to start creating your master plan step by step. You need to gather everything you've learned about your draft so far. That might include critique partner feedback, beta reader comments. Well, if you didn't watch my earlier video and jumped the gun on that stuff anyway, and you sent your story to betas before completing your most final self-edits, notes from your read-throughs, or things you already know you want to change. Don't worry about organizing them yet, just collect them all in one place so you can work from a full picture. Maybe that's just a bullet list in a document. If you want to know what revision steps to take and in what order to help you pull out the right notes and build a strong plan, grab my free roadmap, The Word Wizard's Journey, at the link in the description below. It walks you through the whole process. Now it's time to think through which notes create the biggest ripple effects in your story. Does this note change the plot, a character's arc, the setting, or structure? That's a big ripple. If it's something like tighten the dialogue in chapter 3, it's probably a smaller ripple. It still matters, but only after the big stuff is solid. As you identify bigger and smaller ripples, place them in order from biggest to smallest on a fresh master revision plan document. This document could be a new bullet list, columns in a spreadsheet, or even your floor with note cards if you're the type who needs the tangible in front of you to make sense of it all and organize the chaos. And if you like the visuals, but you're earth conscious or haven't sacrificed enough chickens to get your printer to work right, you could also use a program like Scrivener or even a Trello or Asana Kanban style board so you can move digital cards around. I'm going to demonstrate using digital cards in Scrivener, and therefore I will be calling your individual revision notes cards for this process. From there, I'll create a new document for each revision note. These become cards on Scrivener's corkboard view. Start with the most obvious large ripples and small ripples that you can find in your revision notes to make this process easier. Just put them on your board, document, or floor. Think of each card or list item as one change. You'll likely need to go through this step in passes, just marking which notes you've grabbed. Maybe with a strike through, different colored font or highlight on their original documents as you copy them into your revision plan space. Once you've sorted your notes by impact, look at how they affect one another. Some changes need to happen before others can even make sense. Some will negate others. For example, in the overall notes, I have cut at least 10,000 words for YA fantasy. And then down here, collapse the first two opening scenes into one to bring beats in line and bump up late inciting incident. So probably isn't going to be like a whole 10,000 words worth, but you can kind of see that that might overlap. So I can kind of address that in here. So here I have that the word count is too high, which I think I've already addressed by, the scene collapse that I have noted, as well as the more specific, like 10,000 words. So while I'm not going to move this over, I am going to mark it as read that like I've dealt with it. And it is something I don't need to worry about. Organize your plan so the most foundational changes come first and those smaller scene level tweaks come later. That's how you avoid wasted work and build momentum. Like clarify character arc to focus more on trust. And that one's clearly a bigger item. But then I also had the change the main character's name to something that doesn't start with a D. I tend to, I don't know, I like D names apparently. So I start everything with a D. So now I can physically move it, digitally physically move it to the bottom as a lower priority thing, because this does not have any other real repercussions through the story. So I've now got all my notes in here, and if I click on the folder itself in Scrivener, it will pull up the corkboard view with all of them on there. This will make it easier to assess the full plan to check for things that maybe can't go strictly in bigger to smaller ripple order. Let me show you an example of that. I'm actually waffling a little bit on like the act 2 stuff versus like the first act stuff because I like to work chronologically. So even though I think collapsing those two scenes, if they're like doing presumably the same things already, it's not going to make enough of a difference in the rest of the story. That's why I'm keeping it lower than the act 2 stuff, because I think the act 2 stuff, like fixing a timeline and adding some more high points, might actually affect more of what happens in the story. So I'm still going to keep that first, but knowing I like to work more chronologically and kind of know what comes before, it is possible that in the process I'll kind of inadvertently do this ahead of time, and that's okay. The plan can change, but it can't really change if you don't have the plan to start with. So that's why at least this is here, and I can make better decisions seeing everything together. And I already made some decisions from just pulling the information over from my notes documents into here, because I can already see that some things are going to kind of take care of other things, or I've already got some things in more specific terms than when I was taking an overall note on it. So at this point, I'm starting to think ahead to my process in implementing this plan in revisions and what might go together in a single revision pass. With your revision plan in place, revise in layers. You can go into each revision session knowing your next steps in order to keep you from overwhelm paralysis of not knowing what to do next. Your plan has your individual revision notes in a pretty optimized order. So now you can lump a few neighboring cards together when it makes sense. However, the higher priority items like structure or character motivation may each need a revision pass on its own before it makes sense to start grouping notes that you can focus on at once in another pass, such as plot clarity with a side of foreshadowing setup. Save things like line edits and sentence polish for the end. This method may mean more revision passes than you think you need, but trust me, keeping the passes focused on distinct priorities helps you move through each pass efficiently. It takes a little practice to keep your hands off of those other revisions that aren't supposed to be part of that pass, but it's worth the discipline so you can keep up momentum. It will help you get through everything without getting stuck, giving up, or burning out. And each pass builds a truly stronger draft with progress that you can see, which keeps you from spiraling in self-doubt and questioning whether any of it was worth it. But before you can even make this revision plan work for you, you need to have something absolutely crucial in place first. You need to have a solid foundation to know that your story is strong, because if your story isn't strong, it doesn't matter what's in your revision plan. It will never get you to a marketable book. This is why I work with my authors and enchant your readers to make sure that not only do they have a strong foundation in their story craft and a solid revision plan. Then I work with them on their revisions, sending back and forth edits as needed. When you're in this program, you're no longer revising on your own and without clear direction. No busy work writing exercises either, just practical progress applied directly to your manuscript. You'll get the revisions done better and faster for a truly stronger story. You're fitting it into your schedule because you're getting proven frameworks and tools that I've already created, like the scene outline template and revision tools mentioned in my previous video. The ones I've reverse engineered from the science of the reader experience so that you can actually publish and know readers will love your book as much as you do. In this program where I'm with you during all of it, it doesn't matter if you're stuck in the middle or you're in revisions. It's to meet you where you're at, to help you get your book to publishable easier and faster. If you're serious about finally finishing that book you've been tinkering on, join Enchant Your Readers now. Go to enchantyourreaders.com.